Hey everybody, it's low carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger from chewitnutrition.com bringing you the one and only keto without the crazy. Before I get into today's topic, just a quick reminder about the upcoming End Your Cholesterol Confusion online course. I helped the company Adapt Your Life put this course together, and details below. As always, there'll be some links below in the notes. Do check them out. Sign up for the waitlist. If you click on the link, it will just take you to the page where you can get on the waitlist. It's free to get on the waitlist. There's no obligation just to be on the list, but getting on the waitlist will make it so that you will be notified as soon as the course is available and ready to go. It's self-paced once you sign up for it, but if you are somebody who is overwhelmed and confused and scared and worried about cholesterol and lipids and what if you and cardiovascular disease and what if you've done a low carb or keto diet, everything is getting better. Your blood pressure is better, your blood sugar is better, your migraines are gone, your gout's gone, your skin has cleared up, your joint pain's gone, the heartburn's gone, the fatty liver's gone, except your cholesterol has gone up and your doctor is freaking out. We created this course to address some of those issues and many, many more. So End Your Cholesterol Confusion, check it out. Okay, on to the topic. I made a teeny tiny bit of notes. As so often happens, this idea came to me while I was out for one of my very infamous long walks. It's October, it's beautiful, the dead heat of the summer is finally gone, and I'm not a hot weather girl. I just come back to life in fall. So, I mean, I walk all year long anyway, even in the winter I bundle up, but it's really beautiful out. And I was out for a walk, and it was pretty windy the day that this idea came to me. And I was watching the trees, watching the leaves rustle in the wind, and watching even the trees themselves, the skinnier, narrower trees. The whole tree will actually sway if the wind is strong enough, right? Or if you've ever lived through a hurricane or a typhoon, or just watched the footage on television, you can see these trees all like really bending in all kinds of bending and swaying, and then they all, when the wind is done, the storm is gone, they tend to still be standing. And so what can we learn from these trees that sway and that are able to move and adjust and then come back to center? What can we learn from them? And also two other examples I want to talk about of this sort of flexibility, and then I will come to explain how that relates to keto and food and low carb. So another example would be earthquake zones. Like if you live in an area that's prone to earthquakes, and they might even make all buildings like this, I'm not sure. I think there's newer building codes require that buildings in these areas be like earthquake proof, or they have to be built in such a way to potentially withstand an earthquake. And I am not an engineer or structural engineer or an architect by any stretch of the imagination, but it is my understanding that what that means is that these buildings are, it's almost like they're on springs, or the foundation is on springs or something spring-like, or there's something about the foundations of these buildings that make them able to move and shift a little bit in the event of an earthquake, so that they don't just topple over and crumble. They're able to actually move a little bit and withstand the impact of the force of an earthquake. And the third example I'll give you, and then I will connect this to food, I promise. The third example is, look what happened over the last couple of years with this COVID pandemic. I don't think anyone expected this to last as long as it has, or to have the insane economic impact and social impact that it's had. There may have been some very, forward-thinking scientists who were like, oh, this is going to be an absolute disaster. This isn't going away anytime soon. But I think for the most part, we all had no idea that this would last as long as it has. But look at all the businesses that did not survive, all the businesses that went under, that closed, and there's a lot of different reasons why that happened. But the businesses and companies that are still here, that manage to survive, are the ones that were able to adapt to the changing circumstances. They were able to pivot in some way. They were able to be a little more flexible. And that could mean whether it's a company that normally everybody was in the office at their desks and now everybody's working from home, they're able to log in remotely, or it's a hybrid system, or it could be where there are like a restaurant, for example. So many restaurants unfortunately went out of business, but the ones that didn't, they went from, let's say, having a full house every night of people in the restaurant physically they're dining, where okay, we're literally by law we're not allowed to do that, or they weren't at some point. They had to pivot, they had to adapt and adjust to either curbside pickup, like, okay, you can still eat our food, but we'll cook it and you have to come pick it up, or restaurants that never used to deliver now deliver. And they have survived. They've stayed in business that way by adjusting. So the things that survive tumultuous events and unexpected things are the ones, the companies, the restaurants, the people who can adapt and adjust and roll with the punches. Like, think of those trees that they can sway without snapping and breaking. They can move, and those earthquake buildings, right? So with keto, there's a couple of things that I have in mind. I'll start with sort of the simplest angle of this, I guess. If most likely, if you have realized that some version of carbohydrate restriction really works for you, whether it's to lose weight, maintain weight loss that you've lost, or keep a health problem at bay, put it into remission and keep it in remission. If you've realized for yourself that carbohydrate restriction works best for you, chances are you're going to have to follow a lower carbohydrate diet for the rest of your life, assuming you want to keep reaping those same benefits. It might not be ultra strict keto, but you're going to have to do some version of low carb. And if that's the case, then we've got to get out of this mindset of the black and white, all or nothing thinking, that rigid, unshifting, unflexible thinking, where, oh, I had one bite, I had one pretzel, well, the whole day's ruined, I'll start again tomorrow. Or, it's 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and you had a muffin. Well, the whole weekend is ruined, I might as well just binge until Monday morning. No, that's rigidity. That's like you're either on plan or off plan. You're not on or off the plan. You're not either doing low carb or keto or you're not. You're always doing it. You just might not be doing it as well as you wish to, or as well as you feel like you should to get the results you want. You're always doing it. You might just be doing it really poorly, right? Or poorly compared to your expectations for yourself. And the other thing, like, never let me hear you talk about being on or off the wagon. Oh, I fell off the keto wagon. I got to get back on the wagon. There is no wagon. Point to the wagon. Show me where the wagon is that's rolling by that you fell off of. There's no wagon. So that's the rigid, inflexible thinking, like, I'm either on or I'm off. No, you're always on. You're just kind of not doing as great as you wish you were doing. And then another way, so again, if you know that you're going to have to follow some variation of a lower carbohydrate way of eating for the rest of your life, it's really truly not that big a deal. If once in a while you do have a piece of X, you have one serving of Y, and this is all an individual thing. You have to know yourself. You have to know how you're wired. For some people, that's an extremely slippery slope because the one piece never stops at one piece. It stops at 1,000 pieces and 8 pounds regained in a month. But you know what I'm saying? Like, the flexible person, the one that's able to sway, the tree that can withstand the breeze, is the one that can have a little thing and you wish you didn't, you just had it because you weren't even thinking, it was totally mindless, but then you go right back to normal. It doesn't snap you, it doesn't break you, it doesn't send you on a 3-week bender because you're able to just roll with those. I had a thing, no big deal. It doesn't make me a failure, it doesn't make me a bad person. A second angle that we can look at with regard to being a little more flexible is with intermittent fasting or having an eating window or a fasting window. And I hate my friend Casey Durango from Go Keto with Casey. She has the greatest phrase. She says, eating windows are for zoo animals. You know, where the lion tamer opens up the window and puts the steak in. Feeding windows are for zoo animals, not for human adults, right? So let's say you do some version of intermittent fasting. You know, I don't like the phrase intermittent fasting. I hate it, actually, because I don't hate the concept, I hate the phrase. For me, if you skip a meal or two a day, like if you're only eating 1 or 2 meals a day, because that's all you're hungry for, like if eating low carb or keto controls your appetite and hunger so well that you're only hungry for a substantial amount of food once or twice a day, that's not fasting to me. That is following your natural biological hunger signals, which is what we should all be doing, frankly. We're so used to ignoring those signals that you think you're fasting if you eat only when you're hungry. That's not fasting, that's eating only when you're hungry. But let's say for some reason and it's always individual, you feel best psychologically, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever. You feel best eating only from noon to 8 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., whatever the hours you set. What happens when life throws a curveball and there's some weird blip in your schedule and something unexpected happened and there's the flat tire and the thing and and I wasn't supposed to eat until 6, but it's 4:30 and I'm starving and I'm really hungry. Should you force yourself to go hungry for an hour? Now you could, but you don't have to. You could also just be flexible. You could adapt and adjust and just eat a little bit earlier because you're extra hungry. You know, like or let's say I do not like meal plans. I hate them because what if something happens that disrupts the plan? What if you left your lunch at home? Oh, well, I had it all weighed and measured. I had my 4.3 ounces of steak and I had my 2 ounces of this and my 1 ounce of that and my tablespoon of that. And I left it home or I left it on the subway. What do you do now? You can't be so rigid that you're not able to adapt and adjust and be, just be a little more flexible when life throws you a curveball. And so it's like the eating windows, the meal plans, the food plans. And I'm not saying these things aren't helpful. I'm not opposed to them on principle. I'm opposed to the psychological and emotional damage I see them instilling in some people, usually unintentionally, but it happens anyway. So I'm opposed to doing these things for the wrong reasons, let's say. I'm not opposed to them existing on principle. But another way to look at this with regard to being a little more flexible with keto is let's say you're going to a social function, you're going to a party, and you don't know what the menu is going to be. It's not your party, like you don't know. And so most likely there's going to be a lot of food there that is food you normally don't eat. It's going to be sweets and starches. There's going to be pasta, there's going to be pastries, there's going to be little mini quiches or something. There's probably also going to be some kind of fat and protein. Maybe there'll be a charcuterie board. Wouldn't that be nice? Maybe there'll be some prosciutto and salami. Maybe there'll be a cheese platter. Maybe there'll be a crudité platter. Like, chances are there will be a lot of things that you would kind of not eat normally, but there'll be some stuff you can eat. Are you flexible enough to be able to navigate that when you get there? Like, I'm not even sure how to explain this. I wish it's in my brain so well, and I don't know that I can get it out like eloquently, but are you going to be able to adapt and adjust to what's there? Like, oh, there's that huge table of food that I can't eat or that I choose not to eat because I eat low carb. Oh, thank goodness though. Look at the celery and carrots and tomatoes and dip. Oh, there was some salami and pepperoni. Great, I'm good. Are you able to navigate these things can you sway like that tree? Can you pivot like those of you that watch the show Friends? Do you remember that episode where they're trying to get the couch up the stairs and Ross is like, pivot, pivot? Those of you who've seen that episode are cracking up right now, and those of you who did not watch Friends have no idea what I'm talking about, but pivot. If you can pivot, pivoting is a great strategy too. Let's say you had a perfectly good dinner waiting at home, like you had something in the slow cooker or whatever. Even if you didn't, you knew what you were going to eat. It was in the fridge. It just 5 minutes to cook. But you got a flat tire on the way home, or the car battery died or something, and it's going to take 3 more hours before you're home. You could just not eat until then. You could say, you know what, I'm really hungry, but I'll be home in 3 hours. I'll just wait. Or you could pivot like, okay, I had planned to eat my grilled salmon and zucchini tonight, but that's not going to happen because life happened. And I'll post a link to a video I did recently on how to stay keto when life happens. But this curveball got thrown at me. I didn't expect it. I'm just going to pivot. I would like to have that salmon and zucchini, but I'm starving and I'm not going to be home for another 3 hours. Good thing I'm at this gas station, at this repair service station, and I can get hard-boiled eggs and pepperoni and nuts, right? And beef jerky and pork rinds. Like, good thing I can make a perfectly suitable little snack meal for myself. Do you have the adaptability and capability of pivoting like that? Or are you so rigid and so inflexible? Like, no, I was supposed to have salmon today and it was 3 ounces and I measured it. Like, and if you are like that, why? Are you a professional fitness competitor? Like, does your income, does your livelihood, does providing for your family depend on you eating 4.72 ounces of salmon that night? Or could you pivot to some hard-boiled eggs and pork rinds from the gas station? Let me see if I'm missing anything. But yeah, just remember the rigidity. There's pluses and minuses to it, right? You want to be able to be like, no, I stay keto all the time, no matter what. There's really not ever a reason to go off it, which is true. You could wait the 3 hours until you're home. You're not going to starve to death if you don't eat the gas station pork rinds and hard-boiled egg. Like, you will actually live if you wait 3 or 4 hours while the car gets repaired till you get home and eat your salmon. But, so like there's something to be said for instilling that kind of discipline and that kind of rigidity, but you have to balance it with not being so rigid. And I think, I don't remember because I just recorded a video about this topic for a private group I'm in, and I don't remember where I said it for, but so I might be repeating myself on this point. If you know that and I think I did say this earlier, if you're going to have to stick to some version of a low-carb diet for the rest of your life, for the long term, then it's okay to build this flexibility in, because you're probably not going to be ultra strict, perfect 100% of the time every single day. And that black and white, all or nothing thinking is so often what derails people. Because you're either on the plan or off, and you're not. I mean, that I remember saying earlier. You're just you might even get to a point where your flexibility is, I do eat strict keto like 90% of the time. Once a month, we go to my favorite Mexican place, and they have the absolute best homemade in-house tortilla chips. And they cook them in lard. They don't even cook them in like soybean and corn. They cook them in real lard, and they're so delicious. And I have them once a month. I have these chips, and they're delicious, and they're worth it. And then next day, I'm right back to normal. Or whatever your thing is. It could be, I don't know what, the Jewish delicatessen, and you get the corned beef on rye and you eat the rye bread. Like, you don't just eat a pile of corned beef with a fork. Whatever your thing is, you could build in the flexibility. Be that earthquake-proof building on the springs where you can take a little something and still be perfectly fine. And you don't have to, it's up to you. You don't have to be flexible, but I just think giving yourself permission to be flexible, building in that, I hate to keep using the word flexibility, that adaptability, being able to pivot, being able to adjust, is what is going to make this doable for you for the rest of your life. Because if you have the mindset of like, I'm either on or off, then that's not going to work so well, in my opinion. You're always on, you're just maybe not as on quite as much as you wish you were. And, you know, just remember the businesses with COVID, the businesses that survived and the businesses that are thriving. You know, some businesses are doing better than they were because of their adaptability, because of how they were able to change their model and adjust to the changing circumstances. It's not just like, okay, we were doing this, now we're doing that. It's like thinking ahead too. What's coming down the road? How can we prepare for this? You know, this is like a whole industry that specializes in disaster preparedness. In a former lifetime, I almost went for a master's degree in this field, like security, sort of like worst case scenario thinking, and what do we need to do to protect ourselves if that should befall us. So you can, you know, think about that with keto too. Be sort of proactive about, like us being at that social function. You could go in thinking, I don't know what is going to be there, but I'll do the best I can. And you don't have to go there thinking, well, I don't know what's going to be there, therefore I'll have whatever. If there's muffins, I'll have them. If there's cake, I'll have it. If there's sugar, I'll have it. No, I don't know what's going to be there, but I know how to adjust and adapt based on the circumstances, based on what's available. I will make the best of the situation. I guess that's it for now. That might be enough for this one. Be the tree in the typhoon, be the earthquake building, be able to adjust and adapt and stay standing instead of being the one that crumbles and snaps and falls apart and then you've regained 40 pounds and your type 2 diabetes has come raging back. Okay, that's it. I will see you next time. Remember, check out the End Your Cholesterol Confusion online course. It's going to be sometime in November, but it's self-paced. It'll be available beginning sometime in November, but once you sign up, it's self-paced. So get on the wait list. Is free. Get on the wait list so that you will know when it's open. And that is it. See you next time.